IP Law, IIT Kharagpur, and he'll be joined by one of his colleague, Dr. Padmavati from the same department. So today we have organized this webinar on IPR, intellectual property rights and geographical indication registration in India. So this program is through the DST sponsored Technology Enabling Center of Mizoram University. So in brief about TEC MZU, it was established in 2019, just very recently. And the goal of DST is to foster an ecosystem for training and technology transfer. The TEC is working towards creating an environment or an ecosystem for technology development within the university campus and neighboring institutions, and also to provide a platform for networking researchers across the country with the faculty and the scholars of the university. So the coordinator of the TEC is Dr. Ratnamala. So due to certain unfortunate circumstances, she is not able to join us today, but we'll go ahead with the program. So a brief about the first speaker, Professor K.D. Raju. He is presently Professor of Law at Rajiv Gandhi School of Intellectual Property, Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. So his earlier assignments include Deputy Secretary, PhD, Chamber of Commerce and Industry, New Delhi, Assistant Director and a lecturer at Amity Institute of Global Legal Education and Research, New Delhi. He also worked in NGOs like Oxfam. He has been awarded Fulbright Scholarship by the United States Education Foundation in India for completing his doctoral studies at the University of Illinois, US. He has been awarded with Microsoft Outstanding Young Faculty Award in 2011. His areas of interest and expertise include international law, WTO, trade and economic law, and intellectual property laws. He has published papers in leading journals such as the Journal of Biolaw and Business, Journal of Intellectual Property Rights, Foreign Trade Review, Journal of Commercial Biotechnology, International Company and Commercial Law, International Journal of Nuclear Law, and Indian Journal of International Law. And he is also a contributor to several books. He is also author of one of the famous intellectual property laws in India, WTO Agreement on Anti-Dumping, and which is published by Kluwer Law International Company of Directors. He is the editor of the World Trade Organization in India, a critical study of its first decade, genetically modified organisms, emerging law and policy in India, and his recent book is on interface between intellectual property and competition law, published by Eastern Law House in 2015. He has been appointed as an expert committee member of Government of West Bengal that drafted the wetland policy of West Bengal. Presently, he is authoring a book titled A Handbook on Geographical Indications to be published by Thomson Reuters in the next year, in the coming year. So a very grand welcome and thank you, sir, for your valuable time. Like you mentioned, you have visited our Mizoram University about 5-6 years ago, and you had conducted programs for 2-3 days continuously, which also benefited the students and the faculty of the university and the neighboring institutions. And of course, it was for the entire northeastern region. The program was for that. And I'm sure today's your talk and followed by Dr. Padmavati is also going to be very useful and interesting for all of us. I also thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor at this juncture for his constant encouragement and the support he has been doing for encouraging the academic environment in the institution, in the university. Yeah. So, thank you, sir, and now it is your time.
Thank you, Dr. Senthil, for the kind words. And good morning, Rao sir, and all other panelists and participants. I think so I'm very much thankful to Dr. Senthil for inviting us to deliver this particular lecture on geographical indications from northeastern countries. I'm remembering that, long back, more than 10 years back, in 2008, I submitted a project to the Northeastern Ministry for registration of almost 100. I identified almost 100 geographical indications from Northeast and submitted a project to the ministry. So ministry wrote me back, the Northeastern Ministry wrote me back that this is a very nice project, but they don't have money to do this. I'm very happy to see that after 10 years, now the Northeastern different states have registered 25 geographical indications from the northeastern region, and many geographical indications are under process of registration, which I give this long list at that point of time. And my association with geographical indications starts from the Odisha government has given a project for registering their geographical indications specifically in the textile sector. So I have registered 6 geographical indications from Odisha, including the Sambalpuri Sadi from Odisha, along with 2 agriculture products, that is the Kevda Roo and Kevda flower. So there are 8 geographical indications has been registered by me for a period of time. And in 2017-18, I have registered 30 Part B registrations or beneficiaries for Sambalpuri Sadi and Bomkai Sadi. And this is my association with the geographical indications. And if you look into, let me, I think the slides are changing. No.
We are in the first slide, sir.
Uh,
The title slide. Yeah.
a title slide, right? I think it is.
Maybe you can right click and.
Now it is going.
Yes, yes.
It is changed in my place.
Yeah. Now we have.
That is okay. So yeah. So now it is coming, right? Okay. So the geographical indication, the protection is not started with 1999 legislation in India. Long back during British period itself, and the famous Darjeeling tea has been protected by the Britishers at that point of time. So they started 1800 itself. They started the protection at that point of time, and the Darjeeling tea is the first geographical indication registered from India. So if we go to what is these geographical indications, what is these geographical indications? And the geographical indications are nothing but a particular product, because of that it's originating in a particular region with certain qualities, certain reputation, certain characteristics, and this is mainly because that product originating from that particular geographical region. So the section 2E of the Act 1999 Geographic Indications Act defines what do you mean by exactly a geographical indication. So this is only relating to goods and not relating to services. So any good indication identifies such goods as either it can be agriculture goods, natural goods, or manufactured goods, and originating from a particular territory of a country or a region or locality of that particular territory, where a particular quality, a given quality, reputation, or characteristics, mainly because it is attributed to the geographical origin. And such goods are manufactured goods. One of the activities of either the production or the processing or preparation of the goods concerned take place in the region or that particular territory. So it simply, I want to say that a particular product originating from a particular region have a reputation, a specific quality, because of the reason that that particular project originating from that particular region. This is the definition which is given in the Act. So we'll quickly look into the registration of these in India. Presently, there are 370 registrations in India. 370 goods are registered in India, and the largest quantity is 58% is handicrafts. And secondly, you can see that 30% is agriculture goods. So handicrafts and agriculture goods constitute the majority of registrations, followed by a very small percentage of manufactured goods, foodstuffs, and natural goods. Natural goods are only 2%, very less. And so if you look into the state-wise distribution of registrations, the southern states are dominating in registrations, with the largest number is with Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Kerala. Except Maharashtra, all three are southern states. and Maharashtra is there with 32, and just Kerala is with 30 registrations. So the southern states are basically they are dominating of registrations, and other states are not taking much interest in registrations, which you can see that, which goes down from UP to West Bengal to AP. It is going down. It is going down, and it is going to one or two or three or four. It is the northeastern states. So if you look into this particular data, you can clearly say that the southern states along with the northern states are dominating in the registrations. And this is the part A registration is known as the registrations. And there are part B registrations of beneficiaries. So we have registered around 4,885 authorized users or beneficiaries out of 6,913 applications. But the sad part of this data is that only 34 registered GIs have registered beneficiaries out of 370 registrations. There are 370 geographical indications are registered in India, out of which only 34 registered GIs, only 34 registered GIs are registered their beneficiaries. So it means that the people, those who are the real artisans, real viewers, and real producers are not are not part of the system. Still, that is missing. The registration of Part B is missing. Dr. Padmavati will take care of this Part B registrations. And if you look into the registration of the foreign geographic indications in India, you can see that the foreigners are also registered certain geographical indications in India. For example, the famous Scotch whiskey from United Kingdom, Napa Valley, and Champagne. So Porto, Douro, Tequila, most of them are alcoholic beverages which have a big market in India. And also you can see some other products as well from Italy, Thailand, and Ireland. So mostly I think 85% is alcoholic beverages registered in India, the foreign geographical indications. And this is the geographical indications logo prepared by the ministry, the Commerce Ministry, Department of DIPP, and as a common logo for India. But the problem is that most of the geographical indications have individual logo, and this is a common logo. But the usage of people of this logo is very less. I don't think anybody is using this particular logo, and this logo has to be advertised by the government of India, is freely to all, and it make it mandatory for using this particular logo. Otherwise, nobody is going to use this particular logo. Comes to the Northeast. As I told you that 10 years back, the GI registration from Northeast was 0, and now it is reached to 25. So you can see the largest number is from Assam, Manipur, and Mizoram, 5. Meghalaya 2, Arunachal 2, Tripura 1, Sikkim 1, total 25. So I'm very sure that if Mizoram University can take initiative for registering other products from northeastern area under some projects, and definitely we can help them in increasing this particular number from 5 to many other numbers in the future. So if you closely look into the Northeast, you can see that Northeastern contribution is very less in registrations. Only 7.84% of the total 370 registered GIs, only 7%, 7.84%, where the southern states contributes at 40%. 40.81% is southern states, and all other states constitute only 49%. So you can see the difference in perspectives and initiatives by different states in registrations. And in Northeast, there is one organization which is taking initiation, which registered more than 10 GIs, are the Northeastern Regional Agriculture Marketing Corporation Limited, which is registered more than 10 GIs so far. It is a good initiative from NIRMAC, from the Northeast. So I will start with the Mizoram. So I will, instead of going through so much of the formalities, and I don't like to tell you about what is this provision, that provision, I'll give you a general idea. So first we will go through these 25 GIs so that you will have an idea about the registration of these GIs. So it is starting with Mizoram. So you can see all these are registered GIs. Miso chili, and everybody knows that miso chili have a big market in India. But whether it is properly marketed outside the Northeast, it's a big question. So the marketing Northeastern marketing cooperative societies to take lead in marketing outside Northeast. And pardon. So this is also very specific to Mizoram. So when I visited the Mizoram, there is a museum where I saw these all these are displayed. These very specific, very close to the culture of Mizoram, and other products like this. These are also registered GI from Mizoram, and these particular products are very unique to Northeast, and you won't get it anywhere else. And you can see that there is a the miso. It is very close to the miso culture as well. So I think this is the time to market it outside these particular products, outside the Northeast. And definitely the Northeast, these are very famous in the Northeast, but this is high time for everybody to take it outside the Mizoram. When it comes to Assam, I think Muga silk is world famous. But if you take whether there is proper marketing of these Muga silk is happening, and I have serious doubt, because other states are taking a lot of initiation of, for example, the Bollywood stars. They are taking help of Bollywood stars for marketing their products. And Muga silk is one of the very, very peculiar, very unique product from Assam, which they can market it, because Muga, everybody knows the Muga silk. But if you go to a shop in maybe in Kolkata, you will get it. But if you go to Delhi, you won't get these products. So it's I think more concentration should be given now on the marketing of this product outside the Northeast. I think Assam tea is very famous. Orthodox tea is very famous all over the world during the British time, and now it is got the GI tag. So you have to market it everywhere in India. So everybody talks about the marketing. The other day, the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade was organizing a program on marketing of, or you can say that exports of geographical indications. So what I said very clearly is that yes, definitely the tea board is taking some action. Tea board is taking some interest in registration and in marketing of tea products, whether it is Kangra tea, or it is Assam tea, or it is Darjeeling tea, or it is Nilgiris tea and other tea. But I said that only definitely tea board can only take initiation in tea, and who will take care of other products? So there must be. So we recommended for a national geographical authority like in other countries. So the government of India should organize or come up with an authority, national geographical authority, and with a branch in the states. Each and every state should get a sub authority under the states, so that there will be sufficient funding so that they can take care of individual products. So Assam tea is also very famous. Then you can see this as a Karbi ginger, and Karbi ginger is also very peculiar to Assam. Tezpur lychee, and Tezpur lychee is very famous. But if you go to Kolkata and if you ask for the Tezpur lychee, it's not available. So it is a question of marketing. Mostly the question of marketing comes. It is mostly the question of advertising to the outer world. So that is very important. Tezpur lychee, and then Johar rice. These rice varieties. So you can see in the agriculture products there are a lot of rice varieties. Either it is from Assam or Northeast, or it is from South, or it is from Andhra or Kerala. So you can see that a number of rice varieties are registered, and rice varieties are, I think there must be a category of rices, whole lot of rices. So the Bokka Chawal is very specific to Northeast. When it compared to the southern rice varieties, the Northeastern varieties are very unique. It's very unique, these particular rice products. And Kaji Nemu, when you look into all varieties of oranges and or lemons, this Kaji Nemu is also very peculiar to Northeast. And yeah, mostly I was talking about these rice varieties. So Chokwa, whether it is Movo or Chokwa, all these are very peculiar to the Northeast, because as I said that when compared to the southern varieties or northern varieties, the Northeast rice varieties have unique, very unique. So, it's a time to market it properly outside Northeast. When it comes to Manipur, and one state have registered a sizable number of GIs, the products which are very close to their is their culture. So they have written Shafi Lanfi. So it is written honor and heritage, honor and heritage. So each geographical indications product are definitely, it's the honor of is Northeast, because these products are very closely related to the culture of Northeast. So you can see the motifs. You can see the motifs in this Shafi. So these motifs are very peculiar to the Northeastern culture. They are very close to the Northeastern culture. Then Wangifi. So the motifs again very specific. It's related to the culture and also the biodiversity of Northeast. Then Moryangfi. So these culture, the textile products and the motifs and also the hand weavings are very specific to Northeast. Then Kachai Lemon. So you can see the lemon varieties, as I already said that with regard to any lemon varieties, it's very peculiar. The Northeastern, it's a taste, and it's because of its peculiarity of the region, it is very specific, Kachai Lemon. Then comes to the black rice. It's a very, very, very well known rice, which is known as the black rice. That is Chak. So this is very peculiar to Northeast, and I don't think in very recently some of the people this taken these black rice to Kerala, and now there is a case filed against the Kerala farmer. So this, because this is very specific, this is a registered GI in Northeast. Can you cultivate? Can you cultivate a registered GI in other part of the country? See, the answer is, the geographical indication answer is saying yes, you can very well cultivate, but you cannot call it, you cannot call the geographical name. For example, Chakhao, and nobody is talking about Chakhao, but it is known as black rice. So they call it, it is a black rice, Kerala black rice. So the question is, you can very well register this particular geographical indications, but you cannot confine, it to one part of the country. If somebody is cultivating in other part of the country, you cannot stop, but you can stop only when they have started selling in that particular name. If they sell it in some other name, you cannot stop them. So ultimately it will dilute the name and fame and reputation of the original product. So this is what the people wants to cultivate Darjeeling tea in other part of the country, but you can very well do that, but at the same time you cannot sell it, you cannot call it in the name of geographical indications, and that will be the infringement of the present registered geographical indications. So the tea board is the proprietor, and tea board can very well take action. Here the black rice is registered in the Northeast, it's a geographical indication, so you cannot prevent from cultivation, but the you can prevent it from selling it in the name of black rice. So otherwise you cannot sell it in this particular name, the black rice. So these kind of questions are now coming up, slowly coming up, especially in the agriculture products. When you look into Meghalaya, so you can see some of the famous Khasi Mandarin, which belongs to Meghalaya. And also the most important, the famous product is Mamong Nara. So these are all lemon products or Mandarin products, which are very specific to the Northeast. And if you look into the Arunachal Pradesh also, you can see the oranges. Arunachal oranges are well famous. And then Mishmi textiles. Then if you look into the Tripura, Tripura is registered these pineapple. This is very famous in the northeastern area. And Sikkim, if you look into Sikkim large cardamom. So Sikkim large cardamom is very specific, and it is absolutely different from the cardamom which is available in Kerala or Tamil Nadu or Karnataka. So it's absolutely different. So you can see that the large cardamom, very Sikkim, very specific to Sikkim. And if you look into, I think these are the 25 geographical indications which I have already shown, all of them, discussed about them, the 25, the geographical indications. And these, after the registrations, there are no much efforts are happening in the post registration scenario. And other, so you can see that other than Tezpur, I think product, it is, I think none of them are registered Part B registrations. So if you look into the Tezpur Lychee, there are some Part B registrations are done, beneficiaries are done. Other than this, and no other registrations are happened so far, and the applications are underway. So all these 25 products, I would say that really, if you want to give some benefits to the farmers, some benefits to the producers, and you should start registering the Part B registrations. I already said that the Part B registrations will be taken care by Dr. Padmavati in the next session. So we'll come to the brief procedure. So who can register the geographical indications? Usually intellectual property rights are private in nature. It's a private rights. And these are not public rights, purely private rights. But within all these intellectual property, 7 categories of intellectual property rights, the geographical indications is very peculiar, very unique, because this is the only one category of intellectual property which is a community right. That means no individual, not a individual can register. Not an individual can register a geographic indication. A patent can be registered by a person, whether it is a corporate person or it is a it's natural person. They can register trademarks, copyrights, and all other categories of intellectual property law can be registered by persons. But here, a single person cannot register a geographical indications. Only an association of persons, producers, organizations, or established by authority. Even state governments can also, state government authorities like Horticulture Development Corporation can register, these geographic indications. So as I already said, that this is the only one category of intellectual property who can be owned by a community of people. So that is why the intellectual property, these geographical indications, are known as the is community rights. It's owned by a group of people, or association of people, or an organization of people. So only a society registered under the Societies Act, a cooperative society, or an NGO, or any other kind of organization only can register the geographical indications. So who is the producer? Who is the producer, which is mentioned in the registration? And producer is 3 categories of people. And the producer is basically a person who is dealing with these 3 categories. One, agriculture goods, and production, processing, trading. It need not be the producer as such producer, whether he will be part of that process, the production, processing, or trading. Trade associations also can register the products. For example, very recently the famous the Orissa Rasgulla. So there was a controversy between Orissa Rasgulla and West Bengal Rasgulla. So there was a big fight between them. So now both of them have their Rasgullas. So it is registered by a trading association. So it is not only the producers, trading association also can register the geographical indications. Then natural goods, the people, those who are exploiting the natural goods, trading or dealing, also can register the geographical indications. Definitely the handicrafts in the case of industrial goods, making, manufacturing, and trading. So basically, if you look into the definition, who can register 3 categories of people: the agriculture producers, processors, and traders. And if you take other goods as well, basically it is the producers, processors, and traders. They can register geographical indications. And why you need protection? That is a big question. Why you require registration? So it is the famous case of basmati rice is in front of us. and we never bothered to register basmati rice. And definitely now the government is very late decisions. The government has registered it, but still the fighting is going on between states, whether it is Punjab or Madhya Pradesh, Haryana. Yes, we are also producing, include us. So Madhya Pradesh petition has been rejected by IPAB, and they are going to the Supreme Court, and so the fight is going on in between. So the basmati rice, we took this 1999, the act came, we took 20 years or 18 years to register geographical indications, basmati rice as a geographical indication. What was the end result? You are never bothered to register. A company in US, which is known as Rice Tuck has taken patent over the different varieties of basmati. And definitely they call them Kasmati. It's basmati or Kasmati. Definitely. So India is going to lose the market. So, and India fought that particular case against the biopiracy against the rice truck, and rice truck has withdrawn. Mostly the rice truck has withdrawn the applications of the patent applications from the USPTO. So, what I want to say, if you are not protecting your intellectual property, now others will take away your intellectual property and they will make it their property. So this is nothing like, this is theft. This is theft of intellectual property. So if you are not protecting your intellectual property, somebody else will take away, and not only taking away, and they will make it their own, and they make commercial benefit out of their intellectual property. So, and very recently, so India has filed applications in other countries like France. So the Pakistan is planning. The Pakistan is planning very well to oppose the application of India for the registration of basmati. So Pakistan says basmati belongs to Pakistan only, not in India. India says it is India. So the best option to register this is, so Indian basmati and Pakistan basmati. Let the people decide which basmati to be purchased, whether Pakistan basmati or Indian basmati. So Indian government claims that Indian basmati is original, and Pakistan says that Pakistan basmati is original. So, as I told you that this fight, so this intellectual property fight is going to happen. So why you should protect? You should protect. Otherwise, somebody else will take away your property. And most importantly, when registering the geographical indication, it shows the quality of the product. It shows the reputation of the product with that particular name. For example, miso. So whether is if you take any product, the famous products, it carries the place name, it carries the culture of that particular place, it carries the farm practices of that particular place. So if you are not registering, so it clearly denotes the reputation of that particular product. So if you don't protect it, and other people will take away the reputation of your product and make benefits. So you just see the how, or the some, I said that I have registered Sambalpuri Sadi in 2000, way back in 2010. How the state is marketing their product. This is a very recent photograph of Vidya Balan with a Sambalpuri Sadi, wearing a Sambalpuri Sadi. So you can very well market these products. This is a Sambalpuri Sadi, and this is Chanderi silk. So the people are started marketing their products with the help of celebrities, so that they can leverage the complete commercial leverage on the products. So they're already started the marketing these particular products with the help of celebrities. So I would say that definitely the Northeast can very well adopt. So they will be, these celebrities will be very happy to cooperate with the authorities for marketing of these particular products. And as I said that if you are not protecting, what is the main problem faced by the most of these geographical indications are handloom in nature. If you take any textile products, most of them are handloom. But you can see these products, I'm very sure that you are not able to make out which one is original and which one is duplicate. Definitely this sadi we are collected, this is a Habaspuri sadi, which we Sambalpuri sadi, which we collected from the field. We collected from the field. So one is duplicate and power loom, and one is hand loom. I'm very sure that ordinary people, a very layman, an uneducated person, even educated person, won't understand which one is original and which one is duplicate. So you not only register, you have to do a market search for the products, the duplicate products. So you can see the original and the power loom products. And power loom, and let me tell you, this is the product Sambalpuri sari from Odisha, and the handloom product is 2800 at that point of time, and the power loom product is only 450 rupees. So definitely people will purchase only 450 rupees product, not 2800 rupees product. So the geographical indication registration provides protection from this kind of duplications, and which enable the proprietor to take action, legal action. Civil and criminal legal actions can be taken against the power looms or the duplicators, the so-called duplicators. So you can see the famous Darjeeling tea in other, you see the how it is resembling. This is the logo of Darjeeling tea, and this is another one, Mongoji tea. So you can see the lady has changed, and only her attire has changed, and the flower has changed, and the face cut has changed. Nothing else changed. Just duplicate. Mongoji. So the tea picker design. So it is just look like a Darjeeling tea. And India has fought this particular case in France. The tea board has, filed cases against this particular company, and then finally it has been withdrawn. But you can see it's a cost. There is a huge cost is involved in fighting these cases. So 15,000 euros are spent by the tea board for fighting a single case. So if you look into the cost of defending the cases, it is very huge. So only the governments can fight these cases, not the poor farmers can fight these kind of cases. And see, as I already said that if so you saw that how they are duplicating, whether it is Darjeeling tea or it is Sambalpuri sadi. I'm very sure that the products from northeast also have duplicates. So if you don't want to, definitely if you don't want to leverage the economic leverage by the duplicates, you must register and protect these particular products. And the benefits of registration, what are the benefits of this registration? I would say that simply registering geographical indication is not going to give you any benefits. But if you market properly, market the product properly inside India and outside India, definitely there is an economic leverage. There is a premium which you get, that premium to be transferred to the beneficiaries. That is definitely it is to be transferred to the beneficiaries. So the part A registration is the registration of the proprietor, and part B registration is the registration of authorized users or beneficiaries. So if you don't register these beneficiaries, the poor farmers, the poor artisans, poor manufacturers, poor dealers, and traders are not going to get any benefit. So you have to include part A registration and part B registration. I already said that Northeast is lacking. Northeast is lacking in the registration of part B registrations, which they have to do it, which they have to very well do it. And the benefits, which includes a legal protection, complete legal protection on that particular geographical indications from India. It is not only gives protection in India, outside also. Definitely, intellectual property is territorial in nature. If you require, if you want specific protection in a particular country, you have to go to that country and register the product there. So that requires a lot of effort, lot of money, and also which depends upon whether you really want to protect that particular in that particular country where you have where you have a market. So the Northeast should decide which are those products they want to market it outside India. Presently, zero. And let me tell you that from India itself, there are only 3 products registered outside India. And definitely it is Darjeeling tea, and second is Kangra tea, and the third product is under process. So only 3 products registered Only three products, initiation to registrations. Not even a single is the product. Other products are involved. Not even a single other products are involved in registering in other countries. So you can identify the northeastern products which you want to market it outside the country. And secondly, the benefits includes it prevents the unauthorized usage. Only the authorized users can manufacture these products, and it prevents unauthorized usage of registered geographical indications. If somebody is found to be infringing your geographical indications, you can take civil and criminal action against the infringers. And most importantly, it gives the GI registration gives a boost for exports, because it gives complete legal protection at your country and other countries, which gives an impetus to the exports, which gives an economic growth. And if a product is not getting a premium, then there is no point in registering. And it's simply for registering, you register the product and leave it. It's not going to get any benefits for the beneficiaries or the manufacturers or the poor artisans. So, and it benefitly, ultimately, it should benefit. There must be an economic prosperity for the producers and the laborers or the artisans, those who are making that particular products. And it's the registration in your country which gives protection in other countries as well. And merits of the protection, other protection includes, as I told you, specifically with regard to the GI, is community protection, collective ownership, and then quality, maintaining of quality and reputation, and infringements are not allowed. And the registration is for 10 years, and which can be renewed, which can be renewed for many years. So it is indefinitely you can maintain it. Once it is registered, indefinitely you can renew these particular products. And definitely all these producers have localized control of each product. And you can leverage and consolidate the markets. If there is a single society for the marketing of a particular product, and they can very well control the quality, they can control the prices, they can control the originality, and they can control the reputation of, and with the local communities participation, because local communities participation and benefit sharing is most important. That is very important for the protection of geographical indications. And indigenous knowledge, especially in the northeast, if you look into, indigenous knowledge is involved in some of the products. And if you took into the some of the products from northeast, rural development is very closely related to these particular products. And these particular products quality to be maintained. So if you want to export some of the products, you have to maintain the absolute quality, and the originality and traceability of the products is and the benefit of registration. And I'm talking, not talking about business development. Business development, I think most probably the economic development will be dealt by Dr. Padmavati, and the I think the cooperation. And if you look into the offenses relating to the infringement, you can see that the act, the Geographical Indications Act, which provides provisions for civil as well as criminal actions, which I already told you. This is one of the intellectual property protection other than copyright law to take criminal action, criminal remedies, imposition of fine, and also imprisonment both, which is provided in the GI Act. But unfortunately, so far there are one or two cases which are come up to the notice and settled. Almost all those cases are settled outside the court, and the courts were, Indian courts were not given an opportunity to adjudicate these cases. Or so far, it means that so far nobody has sent to jail for infringement of geographical indications. So it's a poor situation. 370 geographical indications, there is not even a single case came to the courts, because even one or two came and settled outside the courts. So it means that the enforcement is very poor. You have to enforce your intellectual property rights, then only these geographical indications will be protected from northeast, right? So I think I already talked about I don't want to enter into.
If you look into this briefly, I'll tell you that what is the process of registration. If a particular product is identified, a product is identified and a group of people comes together under a society, a cooperative society, or an organization, even an NGO can file an application. If a application is filed in a particular format which is prescribed by the GI registry, and the GI registry is in Chennai, and you can very well send the application, you don't have to go to the Chennai, you can send the application to the GI registry and they will start examining the application. Once the examination is over, and they will prepare an examination report, and and they will invite, the objections, if there is any objections, and a hearing will be given to, so usually the registrars, the examiners will send a report to the report to the applicant, stating that please produce this particular evidence, please produce this document, and change these particular portions. They make changes, and even objections can also come from after examinations. So an opportunity of being heard to the applicants, and then if it is rejected, if it is accepted, then definitely absolutely fine, it will go ahead with the application. If it is rejected, you can refused, your application is refused, you can very well go to the IPAB, Intellectual Property Appellate Board, situated in Chennai. If it is accepted, it will be advertised in the GI journal. GI Journal is an online journal published by the Intellectual Property Office, the GI registry in Chennai, which is online. All the GI journals are available online. So it will be advertised and inviting any kind of opposition. Any kind of opposition, anybody can go and oppose your application, and an opportunity of being heard to the petitioner as well as the applicant. And that there also it can be accepted or can be rejected, but appeals are available to the IPAB, Intellectual Property Appellate Board. And if it is accepted, this name is registered in the GA register, and a certificate will be issued. A certificate will be issued to the applicant for a period of 10 years. So then these are the registered GIs. And once it is part A registration is over, then part B registrations can be started for all the products. And that is part B registrations. I would just bring you one. Sindhil sir, we have some more time, right?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we have some more time. I
Yeah.
want to present you a success story of a product which is known as Araku Valley Arabica coffee. Araku Valley Arabica coffee, and never heard earlier. This is produced in the borders of Andhra Pradesh and some part of Odisha, the border areas of Odisha, and but mostly in Andhra Pradesh in Vizag. And this is produced by the most of the producers were tribal people, and most of the producers were tribal people of this Araku Valley Arabica coffee. On the right side, you can see a shop. This Araku Valley Arabica coffee is in this particular shop is in France. This particular shop is in France, not in India. Presently, 100% Araku Valley coffee is exported to coffee, these to France and other countries. You can see the beautiful packaging. So they completely made changes. How these changes are made to a particular product. This is the case study I just want to go into present. So as I already said that this Araku Valley Arabica is produced, by mostly the producers were the tribal people, and in the year 2000, they 2000 a shop is opened in France with a active participation of a private organization which is known as Nandi Foundation in Bombay. So they come up to help these tribal people in the Araku Valley to develop these particular registered geographical indications. Let me tell you that before that nobody knows about this particular coffee, and they were producing and selling and they were getting some money, that's all. But with the interference, or the Nandi Foundation has organized these people, all the farmers, and they form a company, and all these farmers are also part of that company. They come out with a single processing unit, so that the quality can be checked. So all these farming, and 2007 they are converted into 100% converted into organic farming. and organic farming, and a certificate is given by the European Union for you can see the beautiful picture of the tribals. And now the tribals are very happy because they are getting a premium with the help of a private organization interference, and a lot of training is given to these tribal people, and lot of effort is taken by the foundation. And now they formed a private company, Araku Original Private Limiteds, and the products are available in India and outside. And most of the products are exported to France. And there is a shop in Paris on this Araku Valley coffee. And now the farming is also, the farming practices are also changed, completely changed. Now the fruit trees, orange trees are planted, as people knows that the coffee requires shade. So the coffee plants grow under the shade. So instead of so they made this trees, the fruit trees are also grown. Now there is 100% organic coffee which they are is produced, and all the middlemen were bypassed. There is a direct marketing by this particular company. So they have their own, they come out with a brewing machine. They come out with, on the right side you can see the Araku Mocha, their own brewing machine. So they come out with a machine also for brewing this particular coffee. So the story of Araku Valley coffee, what they say is this is a success story which I want to present before you, which can be duplicated in Northeast as well. You see the beautiful packaging. So this is an international standard packaging. So not only producing, packaging is also very important. And very recently, they got the awards from European Union, right, for this particular coffee. So, and there are 50 outlets are opened in France for a coffee which is produced in small village, a tribal village in border to Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. This is a success story. This is a story which we want to duplicate in other parts of the country. So this is the success story of a geographical indication. And we want premium market, premium market for the products, so that the benefits can directly go to the producers. So you form a company, the producers form a company, they produce it, they market it, they get the premium. So they will be benefited. This is exactly the objective of intellectual property. Intellectual property should give benefits to the inventors, incentive to the producers. And I'll take, I think, 5 minutes more. And it's more important that only 25 GIs are, as I told you, that I have identified around 100 GIs from Northeast at that 10 years back, that for registration. So every state in Northeast should come out the full list and how to register these. So I'll just present you very few from. So for example, the so Mizoram banana, so banana, and the right side you can see the right side picture is the wild banana, very particular in wild banana, which you can see if you travel from Aizawl to Mizoram University. You can see on the on the top of the hills these wild bananas. Is it's an Ayurvedic. It is used. People says that it is Ayurvedic in nature, and this is not at all marketed. These are not at all registered, right? So miso banana is very peculiar and so far not registered. And then Manipur government, the Manipur Tamangok orange, another product. And then Burmese grape from Assam. Burmese grape from Assam. It is very famous, but it is not registered so far, right? So all these are the product which you have a potential. And I think Assam elephant apple is very famous. And I saw that most of the people, it's used for culinary purposes, and which is very famous in Assam. The elephant apple or Orutenga, which is not registered so far and which have to be registered. And one of the very other interesting product is the Tripura jackfruit. And you can see a lot of farms are producing this particular product, but the registration is not done. The Tripura jackfruit, and it is very famous in the particular area. And Naga cucumber have a very peculiar features and particulars, and which can be get a very good market for this particular product. Registration will help these particular products. And another product which I saw that very recently they were marketing like anything, again, is in the production of beauty products, and Lakadong Turmeric. And turmeric, and it says that the chemical composition which says that this with the high curcumin, high level of curcumin when compared with all other turmeric which is available in the country, one of the highest, 7 to 8%. So, but so far it is not registered. I'm very sure this is taken up by some agencies for registration. But you have to, these kind of products you have to market it. Otherwise, what will happen? Again, turmeric was in another case, turmeric case, which definitely the multinational companies will take it away, biopiracy. So the thieves are everywhere. So whether the thieves will take away, if you protect it, the thieves are not going to take it away. So this is another very important product which has to be registered as and another product which I saw that, food it's known as the food mirchi of Nagaland. It's very famous in Northeast, but it is not registered so far, which has to be registered. And also you can see other list. I can present you 100 list, but I have put very some of the important things. So the turmeric which I already mentioned about, this Laskan block, the Lakadong turmeric is very famous. And then tomato of Gengia Hills, and then Lagoon pears, and then Narvan orange, then bay leaf of Mayasunram, then ginger from Rongram, and banana of Umling, then rice from Sun Valley, then black cherry of Manipur. The black rice is already registered, black cherry is not registered so far. So I said, I have mentioned about only very few of from the potential to register from the Northeast. And so let me, I think now I wind up. And so what I want to say is that Northeast is with full of bioresources. Northeast have a lot of products, potential, very potential to market it within the country and outside the country. And the most important thing is that you should start at least registering. The Northeast have only 25 GIs registered so far, and you have to go on a registration spree. Once you register, then only you can talk about the protection within and then outside. And then the third point is the marketing. So the Northeast should take initiation for some of the marketing societies can take up an initiative for marketing all the products. I'm not talking about one product, all the products within the country and outside the country. And the fourth or fifth point may be the registration of Part B registrations. You have to do the Part B registrations. The benefits, original beneficiaries should be benefited out of the GA registration. Otherwise, there is no point in registering geographical indications. So you have to go on marketing these particular products on Part B registrations. And I think then I will stop, but I'll take 1 more minute to just show you the other GIs of India. Quickly, you can see the other GIs of India, because I have all 370 slides which I have prepared for all registered GIs. Quickly, you can see that what are the other GIs from other part of the country. So these are some of the very famous, whether it is Malabar pepper, and whether it is Arabica coffee, and then Robusta coffee, and then Alapi green cardamom. So Northeast also have cardamom, and Coorg, Karnataka, Coorg cardamom, then coconut trees, rice varieties, and mango, and then Himasagar mango is very famous, and then Malda mango, again very famous. Naga mirch, which I have already talked about, and Nilgiri orthodox, and then Assam tea, then banana. So some of the hill bananas, again mango, then pineapple from other than pineapple from Tripura, Kerala, Vadakulam pineapple is also registered, and Devanahalli pomelo, and then mango, apamidi, then Kamalapur red bananas. Definitely I know that there is some varieties of red bananas from Northeast also is available. Then Gundur chili is registered. There's red chilies, And strawberry, Mahabaleshwar strawberry, it is again very famous. Then Travancore jaggery, Wayanad, again rice varieties, Jiraga rice, then Gandaga rice, all these are Ayurvedic rices. Nashik grapes are very famous. And then chili, again, you can see that how many chilies are registered. So Naga is, the famous chilies from Nagaland also to be registered. Mango varieties, wheat varieties, then see the brinjal variety. So I'm very sure some of the vegetables of Northeast is very specific to Northeast, which you can take up for registration. I have registered the Kevada flower, and this also is registered by me. And then Madurai Malli, then grapes, then rice varieties, other rice varieties, Kaipad rice, Kolhapur jaggery, very famous Nagpur orange, rose onion, tree tomato. So again, you can see that the Naga tree tomato is already registered. And Arunachal orange, Sikkim large cardamom, which is already registered, which I already told you, is very miso chili, Assam carbi, Tripura Kyun pineapple, and then some of the bananas. Tezpur lychee is registered, Mandarin, Kachai lemon, among Narang, which we already said, Basmati rice, which is under severe controversy now, then Gansal rice, then Jowar, then Ratnagiri kokum, and then you can see that the products, different kind of products, from whether it is onion to raisin to fruits and to oranges, and Tejpat or the Pata, which is also already registered. I'm very sure. And turmeric, there are other varieties also registered from, not only from Northeast, have to register their varieties. Brinjal, then pomegranate. I think there is a lot of chilies and rice varieties. So I think so you can quickly see these, what are the, the registrations. I just want to show you what are the other registrations from the country. So the products, as I already told you, that our contribution to, we have registered some of them, and quickly you can see the other. So we have taken registration, initiation for registration from Odisha. All these are which we have registered from Odisha. And most importantly, you can see two designs. We have registered two designs also from Odisha of this particular design. We got certificates for these registrations and design registrations. And I think I will stop, and we will go for an question answer session for this. And thank you very much, and I am ready to answer your questions.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for a very wonderful and interesting talk. All the participants in the chat box have given their feedback, already saying that it was very informative, excellent, and very useful for them. The next speaker is also with us now. Dr. Padmavati is already online. And now we have Professor Ramarao from NEHU also, who has kept it. So I'll first move on to the question and answer session. Then probably we can discuss in between, sir.
Yes.
So that's one question.
I can go through. Shall I go through these questions, some of them?
Okay, yeah. I can ask the questions if you want, or would you want to do it by yourself?
I think some of them are very general in nature. For example, somebody has asked a question that what is the difference between intellectual property law, geographical indication, and patent. So it's the geographical indication. Intellectual property protection is all these includes. There are basically 7 categories of intellectual property rights, and geographical indication is one of the intellectual property right, and patent deed is another category. So geographical indication is one category of intellectual property, and patent is another category of intellectual property. And individual, I think I already answered this question. No individual can register a geographical indication, unlike patent and trademarks. This is very peculiar, as I told you. This is a community right. Only a group of person who is interested, association of persons interested, can submit an application. No individual can, right? I already answered this particular question. Artisans, definitely, as I told you, the artisans individually or a group of people, it's very difficult, because it's not very simple that saying you register the GI. It's not a simple process, because I have registered. It's a cumbersome process. Let me admit that. but definitely you can take help of the people, those who are in this particular area, and the associations can very well register these particular products, and the GI registry is simplified and they're ready to help everybody. So here somebody is asking about, can a community register animals? This is very interesting question. I know that I saw when I visited Northeast, Midun. Midun is a big bull. Uh, so, so you see the act that clearly says only goods, and can be registered, whether natural goods, agriculture goods, or manufactured goods, not animals, can be registered under the present act. Products. Yeah, how can we protect our foreign products in the foreign countries? You have to go to each and every location, the different part of the country, and register, because intellectual property is territorial in nature. And if you want to protect in France, you have to go to France and register this particular geographical indication in France according to the France law. If somebody wants to protect their product in India, they have to come to the Indian registry and file an application and get a GI in India for the protection. And Mizoram, right now, Mizoram having 5 GIs, or states misuse our products. What will we do? It is very simple. Simply go to the police station, file a complaint. They will take care of, because the police, let me tell you an example from Odisha. And Odisha, the police from Jaipur has filed a complaint with the Ministry of Textiles stating that Sambalpuri sari is printed in Jaipur, and the central government sent a letter to Odisha, and Odisha government doesn't know what to do with that. And they took the advice, and I advised them very clearly that you can very well take civil and criminal action against that producers, and the matter to be reported to the registrar of GI. The registrar of GI can direct the complete impounding of these particular products which are made infringed products. So if any companies from Mizoram is misusing, then you can very well go to the police station and file a complaint immediately. You can file civil action for damages as well. And another question, to register or protecting the Northeastern product, what is the process? As I have already explained the process for registering. And I think other questions, there is no much other questions. A practical difficulty. Yeah, practical. I think Srinivasa Rao sir has raised a question of practical difficulty. I already talked about the practical difficulty, because this is not a registering a geographical indications is not
Sir,
a
can I
layman's
have
job. Yes, sir. Somebody was
Sir,
talking.
can I have a question, please?
Yep, why not? Why not? Sure, sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sir, I'm from Northeastern Hill University, Shillong.
Sir.
Sir, I have just a straight question is, geographical indications and the rights which are bestowed on that, it is related to with that. Sir, you know that, for example, a Darjeeling variety which has granted some geographical indication, there may be a lot of biological variations within that particular type of thing. For example, Darjeeling tea cannot be just only one. So there is a lot of variation in that,
Yes.
which has been reported. Sir. So
Yes.
once you get a geographical indication recognition, it is applicable to all or only to that particular, I would say, genotype or a variety or a species, these things, sir?
See, it's a very interesting question, sir. And let me tell you, because if you take a product, there are different varieties of that particular product.
Yes, sir.
So, right? Whether if you take a textile product, there are different varieties of that particular product. If you take a natural product like the Darjeeling tea, and you want to say that there is a different categories of products from different parts of Darjeeling, because I'm completely agree with you. The tea quality from Darjeeling or from higher area and lower area may not be the same. Right? So when you are filing the application, you have to submit the chemical composition of all the teas. Okay. So you put a range that these are the parameters of this particular product. So for example, when we register the textile products, and
Right.
we have included minimum 100 products.
Right, sir.
So
Sir,
that
can we?
all these products together can be protected under a single GI. So
Sir,
very well, geographical, these
Hmm.
Darjeeling tea with different qualities can be definitely included. The best example is Sri Lankan tea.
Right.
Sri Lankan tea is the GI, but within the Sri Lankan tea, there are 6 categories of GI is included, because that 6 tea is made in 6 parts of Sri Lanka. So if you visit Kandy, there is a Kandy tea, but Kandy tea is registered within the Ceylon tea, the old Ceylon tea, right? So it is a single GI, but there are different products. Very well, you can include it in a single application.
Right. Thank you, sir. So
Yeah.
we can keep updating that range of our products. Shall we need to keep up? Shall we keep updating that, or only
See,
once?
if you come out with very new products, always you can amend your applications. Always you can add.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
You can very well, you know, the specifications, you can always increase it.
Right.
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 Yeah. If you come out with a new product,
Right.
which is not different from the original product.
Right.
Right. You cannot change from the original product at all.
Right.
It must be, for example, it must be belongs to that particular region. So somebody has
But-
made a question here. I already said that the animals cannot be registered as a GI, but he put an interesting question that mentioning a breed of cow which is specified to Tirupati and its milk ghee. See, ghee can be registered, milk can be registered, but cow cannot be registered.
Cow cannot be registered.
Right.
Right.
So cow cannot be registered. So ghee can be very well registered, and milk can also be registered, and laddus can also be registered. Rasagula can be registered. But so as I told you, natural products can be very well registered, but living organisms cannot be registered as a GA. Right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think anybody else want to ask questions? Dr. Sindhil?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful talk. Many of the participants have posted in the chat box that
Yes.
has been very interesting and very good.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much for your valuable time, and we'll be in touch. And I'm sure we will, as the Honorable Vice Chancellor and you were discussing before the start of the talk, we will try to have more programs related with the IPR and GI from Mizoram University side as well, and we will initiate processes.
Yes.
So thank you once again, sir.
Yeah. I think, but sir, one more minute, sir. Somebody has mentioned about class 31, which talks
Okay.
about animals, right? Class
Okay.
31, let me read class 31: agriculture, horticulture, and forestry products, and grains not included in other classes. Animals, fresh fruits and vegetables, seeds, natural plants and flowers, foodstuffs for animals, malt. And live animals are definitely included in class 31, right? I correct to these particular extent, but so far there is no animals are registered. No animals are registered as a geographical indication, right? So far not registered. Class, I think it's Kashmira. Kashmira has said that Article 31, it's class 31, which talks about animals, but the act is very clearly says that goods. So I would say that if there is a conflict with the act and the rules, the act will prevail. Right? Probably, definitely. She is right that class 31, which is mentioning about live animals, but not registered so far. And I seriously doubt whether it can be registered, because the act is very clear about goods. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So now we will, sir, you can stop your screen sharing. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll just stop this.
Yes, yes. So we have our second speaker, Dr. M. Padmavati, who is also a professor in the Rajiv Gandhi School of IP Law in IIT Kharagpur. So welcome, madam, and it is good to have you here today among us. So we have our Honorable Vice Chancellor with us, Professor K.R.S. Sambasiva Rao. So I'll give a brief introduction about Dr. Padmavati. Dr. Padmavati specializes in patents and has more than 14 years teaching and research experience. She teaches the subjects of patent law, IP management, patent procedure and drafting, TK protection, comparative patent law, among other subjects to the undergraduate and master law students. Her primary area of research includes intellectual property and commercialization of recombinant and herbal drugs and drug regulations, biodiversity law. She has many research as well as consultancy projects from Ministry of Human Resource Development, DST, and other national funding bodies. She has been awarded the Microsoft Young Faculty Scholarship in Intellectual Property. She is an advisor to the IPR Cell IIT Kharagpur. She is also the course director of Kiran IPR program at IIT Kharagpur for training women scientists in IPR, in which women scientists are trained for a year in IPR. Around 60 master students and seven doctoral students have completed their work under her supervision. She has patents and published more than 30 publications in internationally reputed journals. She is a member of important professional bodies such as World Bioenergy Association and International Patent Information User Group, International Trademark Association, Association of Teachers and Researchers in IP, etc. She has been a steering committee member of the Kiran IPR program, IBSC member of IIT Kharagpur, and past members of a panel of FSSAI, Government of India. She is also an editorial board member of Journal of Intellectual Property Rights and Journal of Integrative Medicine. She has been an invited speaker at international as well as national conferences. So welcome, madam. It is a great pleasure for us to meet you and here with us. So Dr. Padmavati also has been to Mizoram University 5 years before, and we had a very good interaction and learning sessions with madam as well for 2 or 3 days in consequence.
Thank you, Professor Senthil, for this nice introduction and the very good words. Very good morning, all of you. It's nice to be back in this forum. Yes, Professor Raju and I remember the days when we actually visited, and it was a really nice experience. It's good to be with you all today. So what I will do is, I think the background has been set by Professor Raju. I think he has significantly done most of it, so therefore it has made my job easy to that extent. And he is an expert in the area of GIs and has also had a lot of practical experience when it comes to GI. So I will take up the socio-economic aspects of GI in terms of its relevance to the country. So I will take about an hour's time, close to an hour's time, to give you some insights into the work that we do, and also where we really need to look at the country from the point of view of the value that GI as an intellectual property can give. So let me quickly share my presentation. I'm just sharing my screen with you.
Yes.
So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, madam.
Okay,
yes.
Let me just put it in the slideshow mode. Yeah. Okay. So very good morning to all the participants. I hope you're safe in this pandemic time. I know it's a difficult time that we are going through, but I think knowledge acquisition is something which is going to keep us all going in this difficult times as well. So I will be talking about how do we enhance the protection of GIs under the GI Act, particularly from the authorized user perspective. So as Professor Raju must have already mentioned to you, that this form of intellectual property has two different parts when it comes to registration. One is the basic registration, which is the Part A registration, and then fulfilling which you have the Part B registration, which expands the users in relation to a particular GI. So there's no other form of intellectual property rights which has this kind of a connotation, because other intellectual property rights filing happens at the stage of the application. Almost significant aspect of the aspect of IP is already locked. However, the Part A of the GI registration is only one minuscule of the entire thing. And why is that so? And this is where I lead you to the aspect of where the factors that determine the value of GI come into picture. So just to remind all of us on what is it that determines GI, it is just not the product, but it is the place that is the link with it. That means the entire regio-cultural aspects of GI are what go into the product. So if one needs to really look at the implementation of the GI Act in the true sense, it all means that we need to remember whether GI is in effect implemented well, which means that how well are the authorized users faring with respect to the GI? Have their socio-economic conditions improved? Are they able to better capture the domestic market? Is there greater value in the export market? So the very fact of the definition under section 2, what we talk about, that reputation is an inherent characteristic when it comes to GI. And that is where we see the product place link. So how to keep this, or rather enhance the value of GI? And that's where we need to understand the factors that determine, how the GI is made. And so one is the registration, and then obviously the post-registration of GI. So since you are well aware of the aspects of GI, I will not go into the basic aspects of GI. We are all governed by the GI Act 1999 in India. So I'll restrict my discussion to India. So today, when we talk about the value of traditional products and products which have recognition in relation to specific regions, there are two things that come to our mind. One is how to enable the market recognition. That is one important consideration that we need to keep in mind. And that market includes domestic as well as international markets. Now, the second important thing that we need to look at is how is it that the registered GIs are enabling the greater socio-economic value to the community. Because remember, GI is typically a community right. That is why we discuss socio-economic aspects in relation to GI. Now, with the capture of markets, there is another underlying problem that we have, that is preventing what you call counterfeits in the international market. Now, we have two opposing things that happen when it comes to the registration of GI and their recognition in the society. So on one end, we'd like to further the market. On the other end, we are also grappling with what we call genericity issue. Because when products become very popular, this is also the case when you come to even trademarks. Something like that also happens in the case of GI, where there is a tremendous amount of genericity. There are many things that the law is not able to address. What about evolution of GI? Remember, GI is has a socio-economic characteristic. So if a set of users are actually modifying GI for better availability to market, that is not necessarily captured in what we call the Part A registration. And so what happens is there is something which is beyond the purview of what we call the GI Act. Okay, so these are some of the issues that I will touch upon as we move forward. So we have a huge potential in the country when it comes to understanding the post-GI in relation to the socio-economic aspects. So there are very few studies which are done in relation to the post-GI registration aspects in India. Of course, there is this Banarasi Sari study. There was some little bit of a study which was in relation to the Kanchipuram, saris. A bit of a study has been done also in the case of West Bengal. So there are very few sparing studies which have been taken up in relation to post-GI. So what happens post the registration is an important characteristic for us, because this IP has a clear socio-economic value. All right. So given the topology of the country, given the amount of traditional skill and also cultural differences that we have and the cultural richness that we have, one important thing that we need to look at when we now relook at the GI Act is, can the registration of GI become an enabling mechanism when it comes to sustaining livelihoods of rural communities? Because ultimately, it is the people who are making this GI, are those communities actually thriving? I'd like to draw your attention to the study made by, which was, report submitted by Dr. Madhukar Sinha in relation to the Pipli artwork of Orissa, where he has actually, from the Center for WTO Studies, where he has actually studied the entire, what is the value of this GI to those communities? One, from the end of the economic perspective. Second, from the local institutions, how is it that local institutions are facilitating the growth of GI? And then what is happening to the GI as such? That report gives us some notion about how the GI has diversified from its original context of when it was registered. I mean, we know that sort of thing. Then he also brings in a lot of discussion on why we need GI to be percolating within the community. Because obviously we need what is called adoption of GI. Adoption of GI. So what happens when the authorized user community is dwindling? What happens when authorized users are now taking up, other activities for their livelihood? Because GI sustenance is an important aspect. So these are some of the things that we need to take into consideration. One, the economic part of it. The other is the social characteristics of this entire value of GI. So when we look at the entire, registered GI in India, predominantly there is one thing that comes to your mind, that 80% of the GI are based on a traditional art, a traditional skill, or even a traditional preparation. So there is this notion which is very inherently linked with the GIs in India. Even if you consider, the Act also takes into consideration manufactured goods, even there you find that there is this aspect of the imprint of the community that actually makes that GI. That means when we really look at the post-GI value, we now need to understand where is the linkage, how intricately it is linked with the livelihoods of many communities. And this is where there are not many studies in India which have gone into in-depth of this understanding. There are people who have worked on the economic aspects. There are people who have worked on understanding just what is this, authorized user community. But we need some kind of a dedicated effort to understand the reach of the registration with respect to GI. There have been changes in relation to the GI rules in India, notified August 2020, where they have simplified the process of the filling up of the forms. Particularly notable is the registration of the authorized user, where the fee has been slashed to something like ₹10. Then, of course, there are rules changes to 56 and 59. I'll not go into the details of it. I'll quickly bring you to where are some of the indicative things that we need work on, and how do we really need to look at this work being taken up by, let us say, institutions, because institutions are in a better capacity to take up work in relation to the socio-economic aspects. So today we are talking about preservation, preserving culture. The first fundamental question that we need to ask is, fostering GIs will foster culture. Yes, there is a direct link. That is one part. Then there is also this aspect of how to foster the art form. There are several art forms in India which are still yet unregistered. Why? Because the part A characteristics itself are actually becoming a difficulty. Either you are not able to pinpoint it to a specific origin, or you are not able to actually gather those set of people. There could be potential disputes that arise of claiming GI in several regions. We have seen that those examples in the country. So there are specific areas where we need to look at, particularly if you look at the textile sector, the in terms of the painting, the ones that they do, the art forms, those things are again useful. Then there's a traditional embroidery. There are so many several forms. I'm very sure all of you are aware of all these. The question is, we have still not been able to leverage that first in the domestic market, next in the international market. Why? Because already maybe we are facing an issue of genericity in that. So how to really leverage the value coming out of these traditional arts? Now, there is one thing that we typically talk about, that GI is about communities. It is about, marginalized communities when it comes to the studies that are seen. Now, how is it that, we can help these groups organize themselves better when it comes to leveraging the value of GI for them? This is one important consideration. And that means that we really need to look into our neighborhood and identify maybe there are potential GIs yet not registered. So gone are the times when Part A registration was done and then later on you are looking at the Part B. Now, right in the beginning, you have to look into the consideration of this registration, what value it is going to give to the people there, and then lock the entire thing into the protection mechanism so that the protection mechanism is again effective. Then there are also a lot of solutions coming up, because preservation of GI is a big problem in order to enhance the value when it comes to international market. I'll come to certain examples very shortly. One another thing that we need to know from the socio-economic perspective is there is a contribution of women in most of the GIs. Significant contribution of women is there in this sector. So this is one question that we need to ask. How many studies do we have in the country which talk about the direct impact in the sector when it comes to the role of women? We need those kind of studies to be done. That is within the country. Now, when you look at promoting GI, let us say in the Asian region, or we are looking at international level, we actually have to look at promoting a lot of linkages. Because here, the question is about looking at the reach of GI. And that means reach of these communities as well. So we need to also exploit the digital mechanism to leverage the value of these GIs. Today, we find a lot of GIs. If you, let us say, I want to now purchase some GI, you can actually put by that name in the portal and you can get them. Now, the question is that are the communities really benefiting? At the end of it, the idea was to actually percolate this to the communities, that they should benefit. So what is the benefit mechanism when it comes to? So there is no benefit sharing mechanism. There is a benefit sharing mechanism under the law. But what kind of benefit sharing mechanism should be put in place? We don't have that relationship yet worked out. Obviously, it is on a case-to-case basis. So we need some kind of intervention there as well, so that India can leverage. See, if you look at the European Union, the regulation starts 1992, specifically for agro products. Then they have for the wines and spirits specific separate regulation. They have designated origin, you have PGI, and then you have TSG. And the kind of protection mechanism that is available is absolutely safeguarded very well. Then they have also come up with, in 2010, the quality scheme regulation in the EU. So what is it that we can learn from the experiences of some of these countries, which obviously should also fit into our national policy considerations? It is not that, because EU is forward in relation to certain aspects of GI, we simply adopt that. But what are the experiences that can actually help us also leverage the potential? So these are some things that we need to look at. Maybe we also need to look at in the Asian corner, what is happening in, let's say, Vietnam, what's happening in relation to Korea. some of these countries which are actually protecting GI. That means we need to look at GI beyond just being an IP. That is, now I bring you the relationship. GI has an inherent link with biodiversity. So how is it that we can actually complement, how can we build the complementary links between the GI Act and the Biodiversity Legislation 2002? Many of the varieties that are registered are under the Plant Variety Protection Act, their products are very good GI. Okay, that means we need to draw a parallel between the GI Act and the Plant Variety Protection Farmer Rights Act 2001. GI is inherently linked with traditional knowledge. That means how do we, when we are registering GI, how do we also ensure we are registering information in relation to traditional knowledge? That means there is a link between GI and the traditional knowledge part. So this is where let me open up some of the work that we have done. So the very first work that I took up, because of my inherent interest in the area of looking at the enabling aspect of GI legislation, because of my work in the area of biodiversity, was to look at the linkages between GI and biodiversity. So the first question that we need to ask is how much of the information associated with the source of that particular product, that is the plant variety, how much of that is locked into the registration mechanism? So for instance, in the case of patents, you have this section 10.4, which clearly mandates that the regioclimatic factors must be disclosed as part of the IP application. Here in the case of Part A registration, you have the map characteristics, that is the place where most of it, the statement of case part of it, where you can have these details fill in. But you have to look at GI on a case-to-case basis, because the nature of the intellectual property is going to be widely varied depending on the type of goods. Because when we looked at the analysis of what you call the statement of case requirements under the GI Act, see, there are guidelines available under the Patent Act for biotechnology area, traditional knowledge, but we don't have guidelines when it comes to GI. And why is it that we need that? Because that is the intrinsic evidence that we have in relation to the definitional aspects of GI, which means we need to know that how this entire aspect of the details in relation to the links between GI and biodiversity, GI and Plant Variety Protection Act, GI and traditional knowledge is having a place in the registration. So our first work was about analyzing the specification requirements under GI. That means beginning the registration 2003, that time onwards, up to almost 10 years time, we looked at the entire statement of cases. Again, there are category wise, there are crafts, all of those, and then started analyzing that how it has differed widely. In the later part of the registrations, we see a lot of documentation being submitted. Now, this is very important. Remember, I talked about adoption of GI. There is also going to be a serious case that we need to face where the community who is practicing GI is no longer practicing GI. What happens? What happens then? The social aspect of GI, the cultural the need to preserve GI will be lost, because we have not made it inherently linked to the livelihood of the people. The moment you make it inherently linked to the livelihood of people, that is where you can see the value of GI. So when, let us say, the role of the GI registry post-GI has not been spelled out, is not there under the GI Act. Unlike many other intellectual property legislations where there's a post-regulatory role under the law, this has not been carved out under the GI Act. So therefore, we need some meaningful thought on that. Or we need some other institution. Obviously, it comes under a central, mechanism where we need this kind of an extended thinking and value to be realized. So at the very first place, we need what you call the documentation should include the entire notion of this product to place what we talk about in the real sense. So that was the first analysis that we took up. And then we realized that a lot of the information actually is not there in the statement of case. Now comes the what is it that we can do? So that is where we started looking at, is it possible to update the statement of case? Yes, this is under the mechanism, under the law. Then the question is, the original registration statement of case is different. It has been updated later on. Now, can we allow for updation? Why? Because that is the information that we need in relation to that GI, which can have a very potential meaning when it comes to the post-GI role. This is something we need to really think about. Do we need that? Because ultimately, GI also has what you call a quid pro quo. GI has to be useful. And that is only partly met if the statement of case particulars are not completely documented. So what happens to that undocumented aspect of GI? Okay, so this is one thing that we started looking at. Now, the second important aspect, which also came to our attention, is what about the evolution of GI? Now, there is this community which is practicing GI. Due to certain conditions, which are directly hinging on their livelihoods, or even they could be indirectly, because remember, most of these GI also bring in what you call the impact, whatever is happening in the society, some of it also gets, that notion also gets percolated in the making of the GI. Because either that the, changes in the society have also propelled changes in GI. Sometimes there's an imprint of the, the notion of the community. The community also would like this to be incorporated in the GI. So there are these notions. So what about the evolution of GI? The GI registration does not capture that aspect of it. Okay. This is also another important target area that we need to really look at. Why is this important? It is important because remember that communities are now adopting different ways of working with the GI. Understanding that is also very important. The third important aspect that is the adoption of GI. First and foremost, adoption of GI in the community. How many, if you interview, we have done a few interviews with, the communities which practice GI. And it is interesting to note that while certain communities continue to practice GI, the children of the community take up the practice, many of them are not taking it up. Why? Because maybe the current conditions or the societal needs have changed with respect to GI. Their economic condition is not, the GI is not helping them improve their economic condition. So there are some of these factors. There are also scenarios where they need support. So otherwise, the making of GI itself is becoming a problem because something is only possible for the domestic market. You are not able to leverage it for the international market. So the question that comes, what I'm showing you in this slide, do we need outreach from kind of giving them a technology support? So do we need technical solutions for GI? That is another interesting area which needs to be also looked at. So let me quickly now demonstrate with a few examples on a little bit of the work that we do. Again, I am one of the group members. There are a lot of students involved, faculty involved who work in this area. So the Goina Bori is one exquisite art of West Bengal, particularly in the Medinipur region of West Bengal. It is actually an eatery and it is made out of a pulse. So through this example, I would like to illustrate to you, when you look at registration of a GI, how do you look at a registration of a GI? You have to look at it from a very holistic perspective because any registration of intellectual property must give gains. And if those gains are not realized, then that means there is a need to relook. So therefore, in the very first instance, we need to look at how is it that we can, go for the registration such that this can have value in future. So those notions have to be kept in mind. So this is an example of Goina Bori. Goina is jewelry. In Bori is that the eatery. So since it is, if you can see these designs which are there on the slide, they're actually like a nice rangoli kind of thing. There is a very nice decorative art. But then this is an eatery. This has a huge historical context, and most households make this Goina Bori. Now, this is a traditional art, and Bengal is known for it. The certain regions of Medinipur are known for it. There's a huge amount of women self-help groups who are also practicing this particular GI. So we went about trying to understand. So if we really want to go for a registration of this, first, how to go about with it. Second, will this registration have any value for those communities? And yes, like in any other study that we do, we started looking at the characteristics of this potential GI. And that is when, after several field visits, we started looking at, okay, if we are looking at the Part A registration of it, first, are we able to fulfill that? Then obviously the need to identify a particular society which is involved. That means that community. In that society, the community. That community, is it organized into a formal group? How many such communities are practicing? What is the area in which we need to, which is the area which will cover? Is it only Mahishadal region? Is it which part of West Medinipur is also involved? So the map requirements, that is another consideration. And then the form of the GI itself. So how many different motifs will become the part of this Goina Bori registration? It was a very interesting exercise, is all I can tell you. And down the line, what we realized is the documentation of this GI is only one part of the story. There are serious aspects that we need to look at from the point of view of the preservation of this art. One is the number of people taking up this art. Some of the motifs they still don't use. That is one aspect. Second thing is this aspect that this is for international market, they are not able to use this well. Why? Because the shelf life is a problem that they need to attend to. And that is where we started looking at, can we look at technical solutions for GI? That means such a GI which is using technical solution, can that be part of the registration? These are some genuine questions that will come to your mind. So there is one thing about the percolation of this art. There is something else about the registration. So how do we really create a win-win scenario? So this is something we embarked on. And yes, much of the value of this GI post-registration has to be envisaged in the prior end during registration itself. Otherwise, there is no meaning of it. Now, while this exercise was going on, we realized that this form of this pulse, this is basically urad dal. I think most of you must be aware. That is a specific plant variety. The size of the grain is much smaller. And in fact, it stays for much longer as a seed. It doesn't get any, easily spoiled. That also grows in those, regions which have this, that means there is a link with even the plant. So the question comes up on, do we really go for a, registration of the plant variety separately? Because ultimately you need that variety, that plant variety, that pulse, and from there it starts the unique way of making this particular one, understanding the skill. So documenting itself is actually a huge task. Understanding the variations, whereas the actual, different people have different notions when it comes to this. Some of the art forms have actually vanished already. Some of the motifs are no longer used. So these things are important when we look at any particular GI. So taking the social context, taking the economic context becomes a very important consideration. So this is what you see in this picture is a discussion with the self-help groups and understanding where their needs are. Without that, documentation of GI has no meaning. Okay, what does it have? What value it has for them? And obviously, the formal requirements under the Act have to be, you have to be compliant with that. That comes, obviously, that is also an important consideration. So Goina Bori was an interesting example for us to look at this scenario. The another set of work that we were involved with, many of us, including Professor Raju, who talked to you prior in the session, was also involved in what we have as student community work, which was funded by our institute, where students went to their respective region, places during the break, winter, summer break, and looked at in their neighboring regions, what are the ones which have potential GI, which could be a potential GI for registration. And then, of course, there are several examples emerged out of it. And it was a great exercise for the students to, work on understanding the documentation requirements under the purview of Part A, what could be the issues that could arise out of the territory, the authorized users link, all that part of it. So some of the forms of GI, which are yet not protected or registered, there is a need to register them. Why? Because we also have very few people practicing that. That means there is a threat to GI. This is the case of the Tarpar embroidery of Bikaner, where the community practices this particular embroidery, which is unique to that region. There are several embroidery motifs which have a lot of value in the international market. A lot of NGOs are working with them, so, trying to see how to support their livelihoods. But if you look at it from the community perspective, this is one of the students who is interacting and understanding what are the different motifs here, what are the kind of embroideries, patterns that they use, and how is the market for the domestic and how do they look at which goes to the international market. That is important for us to understand how to really present documentation when it comes to GI. And also it addresses some of the serious issues that you have when we look at the future of GI. This one single piece that you see has a lot of market, but if you look at the community which is generating it, the amount that they are is actually much lesser what they get. This is only one, it's an approximate relationship, but just to give you the difference is what I have given you in terms of that, what they are actually getting. That means there is a lot of devaluation that is happening in terms of the communities and their, the benefits that they have with respect to these. So how is it that we can enable in terms of the post-GI role is one important thing that we need to look at. Can we have a mechanism where the communities directly participate in the GI trade? That is something, and of course, looking at the linkages, those things are again important to look at. These are some of the embroidery motifs that I'm showing to you. Now, here comes the problem. So, of course, with the adequate, it's nice of the community to allow us to utilize the information that they have shared. So, there are people in the community who actually have the information on the entire set of those embroideries, some of which are still no longer being used. And these are practices which are taught by, it goes into the community, it percolates in the community. So is there a dwindling nature of the use of GI is one question that we need to ask. Do we need promotion of women-based activities? And how is it that we can support them? Then, of course, can technical support of course, this is an example for embroidery. So can technical support for textiles improve the livelihood when it comes to these communities? These are some serious questions that we need to ask. And we need a very coordinated effort from different agencies. To me, if you ask me, what is the best way to first begin to address this? I would believe it should be region-based. The institutions which are in this specific region should take up the baton. And that is where I think your workshop is very, very relevant when it comes to looking at intellectual property in relation to GI. So if we were to look at, let us say, today you're all in Mizoram. Mizoram GI, if you're looking at. So how is it that those which are registered, those which are yet not registered, how do we look at this entire thing? Is first to look at how to understand the livelihood improvement component, then work backwards into looking at registration of GI, because we need that. Otherwise, this intricate link of the product and place, which is what is the basic notion of GI, has no meaning. So we need to look at that context increasingly. One another important component is to look at what are the policy mandates that we need, therefore. So institutions can take it up as a baton, but what about policies which come at the state level, which come at the country level? These also have to be very enabling in nature. So whenever you're looking at defining a policy in relation to intellectual property, how inclusive have we been with respect to GI is an important consideration. Have we given GI the forefront? So this was an interesting exercise for us again. A couple of us faculty were involved in creating the state IP policy draft, along with many other experts. So at this workshop on the state intellectual property policy, one of the important things that we looked at is GI an integral part of the state IP policy? What kind of linkages and mechanisms need to be put under the IP policy? Because that will bring in what you call the mechanism as well as institutional support that is possible for fostering GIs. Again, this was a very interesting example for us, an interesting instance. And again, we insisted here that we have to integrate the notion of traditional knowledge and GI. We cannot separate these two out. Otherwise, what happens? GI will not be really effectively registered. Similarly, GI and biodiversity concerns have to be addressed well. Otherwise, if you do not have the plant species from which you are deriving, let us say, a part of it which you're creating for the craft, or a part of which you're creating for a particular product, then the question of that product will no longer be there if you are not attending to the source. So the linkage between some of these were also discussed at that. And then accordingly, when we define some of the aspects in relation to this policy, those things also have been kept in mind. Yes, and subsequent to that, there has also been a specific workshop which looked at how is it that we can enhance the registration of GI. Then a workshop to bring all the authorized users together and look at how is it that they want, the value with respect to GI. And that gives us some very interesting, aspects in relation to looking at where are their real concerns. Are they really concerned about registration? Did registration at all make any change to them? Because it is about their livelihood. It is about their economic, status. It is about how well they're able to leverage their own GI. Are they able to practice the GI? So this becomes an important thing. Currently, some of us in the group, we have research students who are working with us, who are also working on some of the food GI. And food GI are something which is, again, a very interesting subset of GI, where many things need to be addressed. One, the linkages with trade need to be addressed. The problems that are coming up in trade, now, particularly now in the pandemic time, it is a huge problem for them, because this trade has also suffered a lot. So how are they readjusting? GI resilience is again a new area. That is, how are they adopting, adjusting back to the GI? Then do we need to see, often when we work in the area of traditional knowledge, we talk about repatriation of traditional knowledge. That is, the best way to bring back traditional knowledge is bring it back to its original state. So do we need something like that allied for the GI? Because that is the actual notion of GI. So have we moved away from what was the registration of GI to what we are practicing, rightly or wrongly? This kind of thing is important to look at. Now, this is another example of where there are issues with respect to even documentation of GI. Much of it is difficult to document. And this is another link which we are looking at from GI and biodiversity angle. The Pattachitra art form, many of you are aware, is a very important art form. So we took up this exercise of understanding that the link between the GI and the biodiversity, how much of the resource sustenance will sustain GI. That's the relationship that we are studying. Very interestingly, you will find that the community which practices this particular art form is already having to grapple with extended trade. That is, there's a huge amount of trade when it comes to potential, and also there is a huge demand. And the resource, processing the resource, which is basically plant-based dyes, is not easy for them because they don't have the wherewithal for a huge demand. So what you see in this set of pictures is the natural dyes that they're using, the leaf from which, particular plant's leaf, which they use the green color, and also the fruit of a particular spinach from where the purple color is being utilized. Now, when you talk to the community give you a notion of that they need support when it comes to making of these dyes. Otherwise, as you can see in this, I do not know if you're able to see the mouse over, they are ending up using acrylic colors. So remember the aspect of GI sustenance that I talked to you about. GI sustenance is put to question. That something which you started as a vegetable dyes, because of the growing demand, they're having to move to acrylic colors, which is neither safe for them nor safe for the environment. So here is a question where, if we really need to look at sustaining the GI for this community, we need to now address some of these solutions. Can we enhance looking at the biodiversity part, that is the plant's resource and the associated things that they use? Can we have some solutions which will actually help them practice GI in its original form? What they are using acrylic colors is now an adopted one. They've migrated away from the use of natural dyes. Why? Because there's a huge demand in the international market and they just cannot keep up with it. Also, there is the other problem that originally when they were using natural dyes, it was for making these cards. Paper is made out of natural material. Natural dyes bind better on that, but natural dyes don't bind better on these fabric. That means we need now solutions for, one, enhancing this part of making of natural dyes. Second, how can we make these dyes better bind to? I'm very sure that there are technologies available. We need to enable them. So we need people to come forward and support these communities so that those technical solutions can revive back the original practice. Obviously, this work would not have been possible. Some of this work that we have been doing would not have been possible if we did not work in a team. A lot of faculty work together, and a lot of students also work with us, not just the research students. We have research students who are dedicatedly looking at the area of food GI. Some who have worked earlier on the documentation aspects of GI. A lot of students also work on this, and that helps them also understand where are the real issues of GIR, which go much beyond just the registration of GI. With these words, I'd like to stop here and take questions. Thank you all for your patience.
Yes, madam. Thank you very much, madam. It was very interesting and useful talk. So, yeah, we have another guest in the panel, Professor Ramarao. He is from Nehu University, Shillong.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yes.
Ma'am, a very informative talk you have given. Very, very thankful to you. And I could see a lot of efforts is being done by your center. I also saw that many of slides you have acknowledged the contribution of the student teams that they are supporting your activities.
Yes.
I was just wondering, just basically I'm a botanist, so naturally my interest is for. See, when you talked about the dyes used in Pattachitra type of art,
Yes. Right.
you said that most of the colors are natural, the dyes are from the natural this thing. Obviously,
Right.
our ancestors are known for that. But ma'am, is there any effort by the center to identify those plants systematically, rather scientifically, putting that information on record, number one. Number two, to do a bit of research from our side. When I say our side, means from the scientist side, to tell them that yes, not only this plant also has the similar type of dye. Of course, their information is basic. Will we be able to, through the students, to help them to get better value? Because I'm really I was really amazed to know that such a difference, 1,530 rupees. So can we help them? Can we help our people? What is your call on that?
Yeah. Dr. Purohit, I really want you to be the, you really brought the question in the right perspective, because we really need people now taking up this area from the different standpoints of research. So when we are looking at this particular plant variety, from which they're actually taking, see, all leaves are green. Most of the plant leaves are green. They all are having the chlorophyll is there as a pigment. Okay,
Right.
when you crush a plant and you get the dye out, okay, it has some blotting value, but some plant species make some very dark green color. So these people, yeah, exactly. So those varieties, if they are already registered, okay, we need to look at what is the mechanism available. How do we promote more growth of those in the vicinity? That means we need to look at, see, in the map, in the territory, you are blocking that thing. So how do we foster the growth of those plants in the vicinity so that it's a very self-sustained system? Since you asked the question, I'd like to give you another example of this Sojat Mehendi.
Yeah.
This is, again, I'd like to acknowledge the work of, Pankaj Tyagi is my student, who is now practicing in the area of intellectual property. This student took up the aspect of Sojat Mehendi. Sojat is a place in Rajasthan which is very well known for Mehendi. Not many of us, in fact, to tell you very frankly, I myself did not know that. This is the place from which everywhere Mehendi goes around in the world, including domestic need. We did not know this. So when we sent him on a winter exercise, which I mentioned to you, he went back to Sojat and started looking at why is it that Sojat Mehendi is very well known. Is it because of the processing of Mehendi, or is it because the variety itself is different? And that is where he started realizing that the variety itself is fundamentally different. That means we need not only a registration of this as a plant variety separately, we also need to look at that, okay, this grows in that region. How to really, multiply this for the better value. So when he worked with the CASRI, which is the institution there that was also participated in the exercise, the fundamental thing that he was looking at is, one, the resource, and another, the GI. So when you go for a registration of a GI, have we really meaningfully understood the GI Act becomes the important question.
That's the point, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So please watch out that there is already an application registered for Sojat Mehndi. He has done it. And he is actually also working on the post GI. And that is where you will not believe, you're a botanist, no, sir, you mentioned about that. This boy actually made a herbarium. I mean, amazing. He is a student from an engineering discipline. So I asked him, the first question that will be asked in the documentation is that if this Mehendi variety is different, what are its taxonomic features? Very clear. We need to know that very clearly. So you will not believe, he actually prepared that, he preserved that, and then came and showed that to me. Madam, you told me that this has to be made. So GI is one interesting aspect of intellectual property, which actually brings us, cutting across different disciplines. So,
sorry to interrupt you. Would you repeat the name of the place in Rajasthan?
Sojat. It's called Sojat. If you want, I can type it into the
Sojat, near Pali and Jodhpur.
I can just type it.
Yes, Sojat Mehndi is a very, very famous one.
Yes, very famous. Very famous.
I happen to be in Rajasthan, so I know it. So I'm
in fact
thankful to you for the very useful information.
So we actually, as a faculty team, we had people working with each one of us and some working between us. So this was a GI with Pankaj Tyagi worked with me and Professor Raju. Professor Raju was looking at one particular aspect of it, and then I was looking at so for me, what struck to my attention was looking at the biodiversity link. So if I have to really effectively protect this GI, tomorrow if the plant vanishes, there's no GI. There may be people, there's no GI. So that's what was very...
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you, sir. Madam, thank you very much. There is a lot of comments from the participants in the chat box. They are saying wonderful talk and very useful information. So many of them have commented in the chat box. And Madam, there are a couple of questions in the Q&A box, which I can read to you.
Okay, we can take up.
Yes. One is from our own professor from University, Professor Purama. What are the advantages of a registered GI? Example, birds, chili, capsicum is GI registered in Mizoram. What are the prospects of its products like Market Avenue?
Right. See, once the GI is registered, you actually can put the name or the certificate, enables you the number. That number you can put it on the product carton and you can sell it. That means, what is the certification? That certification is for repute of the quality of that particular GI. So normally speaking, from market point of view, you should be able to better reap the value with a registered GI. And therefore, anyone who is selling that chili without that particular number will mean that it is not that chili. So therefore, you can ensure what you call quality in trade. That's number one. Number two is you can avoid this thing of where, there are people who are calling it, the registered GI, but it is not the registered GI. So therefore, you can channelize the trade well, and that will be obviously to the benefit of the community who are actually practicing that and, are rightly labeling it. So that kind of, false labeling by people who are not actually part of the GI will be prevented. So that way it brings in some level of quality into the trade. At the same time, it assures, it's a question of assurance. GI assures you of your returns in that sense.
Thank you, madam. Another question is, what is the overall position of India in terms of IPR in Asia?
IPR in Asia. Okay, maybe this is a general question. I think we are doing pretty well as a country because there have been a lot of reforms in relation to the administrative aspects of intellectual property, just not the GI. You have seen the GI rules being amended. They've really eased it out. So today, I'm actually looking forward for a portal at the GI registry, which will, I don't need anyone. I will just simply go to a call center and register myself as an authorized user. That should be the level of this thing. And it should inherently link you with your identity mechanism, because GI, to that community, their identity is the GI. If GI has to give them identity, so be it. So I must go with my card, and that card says that I'm from that community, and I should have some value coming out of that. So I would believe that something like that will certainly emerge. And we need GI awards. See, we have plant variety protection, we have a lot of awards, you see. We have Kisan Award, we have Best Agro Conservation Zone Award. Why don't we yet have GI awards? We need to look at awarding GI, recognizing GI recognizing authorized users' efforts in preserving GI. You see, we have that for plant variety protection. You see, there have been many rice cultivators or some of these traditional farmers who have been recognized under the plant variety protection. We need such recognition mechanism even for GI crusaders. Even like Professor Purohit mentioned, someone is taking up the role of preserving GI. I think they are all the what you call GI crusaders. We need protection. We need some kind of recognition for them as well.
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam. Another question is there in the Q&A box. Nice and informative presentation, madam. I would like to know the Ministry of MSME conducting awareness programs in the stakeholders' point of view. Because of pandemic of COVID-19, GDP is going down and almost all the sectors except agriculture. That is the importance of awareness in our remote people of India. Maybe this is again a general.
Yes, I understand. See, I know every sector has taken a huge, it has been quite devastating, I'm very sure. It's not only just about sectors, it's about lives, which is very unfortunate. But if you look at the, I think we need to really now explore a lot of digital mechanism, for digital product linkages mechanism, so that, what happens. In fact, some time back, when we were looking at building this GI resilience, one of the things that we were looking at is how to see, whichever is the community, even in the rural communities, they use a mobile application. So how do we enable, the linkages for GI using mobile applications? That is something which will be very useful, because see, it's no longer NGOs can interact with them because of pandemic. That means you have to look at building that connect right away with the source. So we need, maybe the digital area will help, because we did talk to a lot of food GI. I mean, if you talk about, when we talked about this Joynagar Mova, when we work in that area, it's a GI, and they have suffered. Roshagulla manufacturers, if you look at the people who are making, all of them have said that, see, after they make the chana, that is that paneer, if it is kept after some time, it will lose its quality. And in order to keep the reputation of the GI, they have to simply throw it away. Can you imagine what a loss it is for them on a day-to-day basis? So we need some solutions, where at least it can stay for a day or more. And still, see, imagine it's a waste of resource also, no? So we need to look at resource management also in relation to GI. That's another area which I'm at least not sure how many people have worked. How do you do resource management during a pandemic time or during a serious, emergency of even other kind? So these are, yes, I agree. So MSMEs, I think only digital way is the way out. And we have to slowly look at making the changes accordingly. So what we were buying in person to the market, we'll buy through the digital. At least it is kept going. No, they trade. Otherwise, they suffer. They cannot make the GI. That's not good for their livelihood. Yes. So supporting them in some way is very useful. In fact, we have done that. Some of our teachers, the Pingla art that we told you, some of our teachers have actually, provided some kind of whatever little bit through the online. We have supported them, because in this time they don't have material to make the GI. That is also a problem. Yeah, I think we need support. We need to support them well.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Madam, one last question. How one territory honors the GI of other territory, whether GI tag can be used in exported products too?
Well, yeah. So I can give you some instance of this. You see what is happening. Sometime back, it was around 2008. I participated in part of the academic group. There was a meeting in Bhutan in relation to GI. Where Bhutan was looking at, enhancing, first of all, looking at GI protection, formal GI protection they wanted to look at, because they have the entire thing is into one single act, Intellectual Property Act. There's no separate legislation. So again, Bhutan is very rich in GI. Okay. Now, there were a lot of delegations from different countries also participating into that. One of the issues that we discussed about is about cross-tagging GI. How do we look at really GI tags beyond the territory? Will they be useful? Yes. Having a GI tag is always useful, with respect to your product, especially if you're actually in looking at exports, because that gives what you call a uniform identification mechanism. Many countries do have GI tags which they use for export market. For India also, you know that symbol has been developed, which will signify that this is an Indian GI. Not only that, you may also have complementary tags. One is the main tag, and then you can have complementary tags. Like you have a house mark. When you come to trademarks, there's something called a house mark. There's a main logo, and there are several other marks associated with that logo. Similarly, I think for GI, it will also help if you have the specific tag also. Because see, for us, it is actually about the symbol. Many of us, when we buy products from the international market, it's actually about the symbols. We may not really read through the entire thing. We know that it is famous in a particular region. So the moment you see that, you get attracted to the look of the product. So other than having the general tag, you must have, like for Rasgulla, you should have that as the, so when the look of it, okay, this is, yeah, it reminds me of Rasgulla, or let us say Pattachitra or Kondapalli toys, or, this bird chili. So that picture should be there, because that itself is a signifying, thing. So I think such kind of what I call intact GI tags, they're actually intact because they're intact from the original form of the GI. Those will actually really help a lot, in terms of creating an impact on the consumers, because of the, GIs also have this thing of source identifier value that will improve the connect with GI. If you have that using GI intact, when it comes to products, that's my answer for it. So we have to have, yeah.
Madam, I think Madam Senthil is disconnected because of net problem. Okay. I'm there. I'm Vice Chancellor.
Sir, very nice. Yeah.
So Senthil was disconnected. So I will continue the program.
Okay, that's nice.
It was wonderful.
Nice.
I've been listening. Senthil has lost. One particular question about the GI. If particularly in our country's strategy to ban the Chinese products in the recent past. So if the GI is not been used and the products are released some other manner without using GI, the products can be, they enter into our country?
Yeah, see, that is why you see many of these, this was one problem with this Kanjivaram silk also, where a lot of these Chinese based silk products, imitated products had come in, and their much price is much lesser. So the only way to is insist on the tag and insist on the source. So you have to have,
because the problem is cost, because people looks for cheaper, so they don't insist on tag. They only see the product whether it is coming for the lower price or not. So they don't bother about whether it is coming from China or some other country. And this kind of smuggling or pirating of the products without GI tag is now coming into India. This is what my understanding. Country has banned it, but people still products are coming to our country. This is what.
So see, it's like this. For this, the way we need to address is that we need to make available GI at every nook and corner. We need to increase the use of GI. The more you increase the use of GI, the price will come down. Here, we need a kind of a very conscientious adoption of GI. For instance, how many of institutions actually, instead of giving honorarium, give GI? Give GI. Instead of giving a gift, which is some brass item or some, decorative item, give GI. So we have to adopt GI and make it very inclusive. So we give a birthday present, give GI. Make people aware of their own region.
I just tell you one of the another important problem in this particular GI tag, how it is been misused. This is for your kind of information.
Sure.
In Government of India portal, Gem portal you must be knowing. Government now recently Government of India has introduced the Gem portal. So what is happening? When we are selecting one product, basing on the company's performance and basing on the company, and what is that it is happening in the 11th hour, the product will come from the local origin where it is manufactured in our own place, and the same product tag will be used by that particular company and it is been supplied to us.
Hmm.
How it is going to be reflecting in a different, of course, you may say that we can take action but by the time our product, our particular purpose is not going to be served and we are getting delayed. And one particular computer information, computer thing, it has been purchased from Bhopal or sold from Bhopal or somewhere. But these Aizawl people in our Mizoram, they were actually supplying the product which is been manufactured in locally. This is this is actually unable to be controlled in our country. It is going to come like this, no? This is what actually practicality. I'm talking about the practicality.
Yeah. I understand, sir, what you are trying to say. See, that is where we need dedicated zones in the country. We need dedicated zones. See, for example, you look at a city topology. In a city topology, let us say you go to Google Map. Google Map, if suppose I put GI of West Bengal, can the Google Map tell me exactly where all as the actual registered that part of Rasgulla being sold? That is important. We need to map it to location. Then what happens? People will know, okay, in my neighborhood, there are some 5 outlets. These are the 5 outlets which are the ones who are actually authentically using GI. Then you can encourage people to go to only those places. First, we do not have uniform identification mechanism. That is one problem. We don't have many of those. If you have to go to KC Das, you have to go to KC Das only. If I have to go to Kondapalli and buy toys only to be sure that it is Kondapalli toys, that genuine doubt I'll have. So why don't you enable that and make that more of it? Then the price will come down. It should not be just said, okay, so a state government outlet will have that. So you go to that emporium, only there you will get it. It's not like that. You have to license out that mechanism. So GI is not prone to licensing at all.
Yes.
GI is a socio-economic, right? It is not at all licensed.
Slowly it will come, madam, because as you rightly said, it takes some time to have a mechanism of everything.
Yeah, you have
and
to
people,
have that.
People realization and government regulation, everything will come slowly stabilized and it will come.
And you have to adopt it. There is no other way to preserve a GI in the country if you do not adopt it. You have to adopt it. You have to say, we will go Swadeshi.
You can take over Senthil.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Nice to talk to you, Professor Rao.
Nice, madam. Yes.
So it is a thank you, madam. It was a very interesting and full day for us. Both Professor Raju and you have given a very wonderful and excellent informative talk. And we are also very thankful to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sambasiva Rao, for being with us and interacting with us. We have one guest from Nehu also, Professor Rama Rao, who is also in the...
Big man. Big university, big man.
Yes.
Yes.
So it is very nice, madam. So
Thank you so much. It's wonderful
actually,
to talk.
Actually, Ramaragaru, your headphones and speakers are differently looking. And we don't have, no one has got your headphones.
Right, thank you.
Thank you so much, and it's really nice to interact with all of you. And wishing you all the very best. I think you are really taking forward this thing. Please take forward the GI movement itself, I would suggest it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I mean, with Professor Samsara sir and other committed people, I think this is one area where we all have to work, and we will definitely look forward to work in a serious note, ma'am. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you all so much. Okay. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Dr. Senthil. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.